He is the editor-in-chief of the Revolutionary Conservative and 2018 Republican candidate for Senate, which is news. I just honestly looked that up today, and you're really you're going that route, huh?
Going that route, yeah, because like I said in the announcement months ago when I switched parties, the Libertarians seem pretty much fanatically devoted to losing. So I just didn't want to be part of that losing club anymore.
Can I say, as someone who's been voting Libertarian, that's very funny because they really, really are. They don't know how to win. They pick the worst people.
They were this is what, and this is funny that you bring it up because I know in 2016 you ran as a Libertarian. And the chairman of the party kind of spurged out and resigned and made a whole stink about it.
Yeah, spurged out is the least of it. He wasn't the only one either.
But isn't this the same party that was throwing like John McAfee's name around for president? Like, they're not taking this totally seriously.
Right. Well, yeah, McAfee, all the other people, like if you're running on a ticket that says we're all about degeneracy and weed and gay sex and all that, then 100%, that's fine. But if you get accused of Nazism or fascism, well, then we're dead serious. That's not going to fly. But coke and hookers, every president should be doing that, right?
Yeah, but to be fair, too, I mean, these are sort of not fair charges now. I mean, I'm very familiar with you. I've followed a lot of your stuff. And you've kind of been lumped in my opinion, unfairly a bit with the alt-right movement. I know you've been to some events, and I know you can know people in that circle, but I certainly, from what I can tell you, you're not a racist, you're not autistic, and you don't seem to want to suck Putin's dick or kill any Jews. So I don't know why you tend to get this Nazi label. Do you think this association was underscored a bit by your very visible and enthusiastic presence in Charlottesville?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And they all, I had switched parties to the Republican Party before that. And as soon as Charlottesville came around, all the people in the Libertarian Party who hated me were saying, see, we told you so. We told you he was a Nazi. So, yeah, they've lumped me in there. I mean, on the one hand, it's deliberate on my part because I refuse to throw them under the bus. Like, we do events together. We have a lot of the same support base. A lot of the people in the alt-right do support me. So I'm not going to call them all Nazis. That would be stupid. On the other hand, yeah, they've been doing this, throwing me under the bus with the Nazis, that whoever they think that is, since I defended the American Front in court back in 2012. You defend neo-Nazis in court, they don't have the right to a fair trial because they're Nazis. So anybody actually defending them in a criminal case, they're Nazis as well. So they've been pulling that trick for years.
Yeah, no, and that's a really good. Actually, even worse than Nazis. Even Nazis had the Nuremberg trial. Like, you don't even get that. You're immediately punched in the face. You're hit, and it's funny because I've said this on the show a couple times. I think the reason that conservatives tend to do better is because we are capable of working well with people. Even if you don't agree with everything, we could come to a natural place like, all right, I don't like that you do A, B, and C, but you're not trying to take away my guns. I'm going to work with you, and right. I think the left, we're seeing it now, is imploding and falling apart because they're unwilling to work with each other, Right.
Well, that's the thing about the left. When I went in, I was really centrist when I started running for office. And then I realized along the way, the leftists have no desire whatsoever to compromise with anyone, to work with anyone. They want to force people out. They have no interest in negotiating or finding common ground to move forward. So you're kind of, if you're on the right and you're trying to be reasonable, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, to Royce's point, that's why I tend to, like, for instance, we are in a similar boat that you are. Obviously not on as big of a scale yet, but we have a very weird, loose-knit collection of fans. And they range everywhere from, we've got leftist fans, which is weird. I think they're just masochists. But we even have people that are old school conservatives. We have Jewish listeners. We have alt-right people. We have people from the right stuff who do shows on there that listen to our show. And we don't necessarily do the whole, alt-right thing, but we're also not going to denounce people. It's hard to be, comedians who have been called rape apologists and racists and all these, women haters, because we make jokes. So I can't in good conscience dislike people on a freedom of speech thing like that. Like I'm not going to tell you what to say, because nobody's going to fucking tell me what to say. So
well, I'll also say this for the alt-right, you know, it's never been the alt-right that's throwing me under the bus. It's never been the so-called white supremacists and neo-Nazis, you know, shitting on me because I have an Hispanic family. It is always, every single time, the leftists and the moderate right-wingers that have something to say about race, about what I'm doing, throwing me under the bus, refusing to work with me. It's never been the alt-right. The alt-right, like, they're actually the most reasonable people in the room, which I find to be quite ironic.
You know, and I'll say that is true. When we went over to we went to cover the Spencer rally at University of Florida, the people that were crazy and that we were worried about was the Antifa people chanting, you know, "Cops are the Klan," screaming at people. Not, you know, at one point, Mike and I are screaming, trying to go, look, let the Nazi fucking walk to his thing. What are you doing? Like, stop it. You're being children.
Yeah, and the guy that went there got exactly the reaction he knew he was going to get. He dressed up. He didn't even dress up like an actual Nazi. He dressed up like a 1990s, like an extra from the movie Romper Stomper. And he fucking showed up to Gainesville, and everybody was like, "Brrr!" And they were all crying. I'm like, you're doing exactly, like, you're proving his point. Yeah. You're trying to push a man and burn his books and not let him speak. That's pretty Nazi.
I'm Cuban, and I've been called called a Nazi. I'm like, do you understand, you idiots? And that's the problem. I think that that double meaning with that Nazi word. They've made the word meaningless, which is sad. You know, it doesn't mean anything anymore. You've taken something that was supposed to mean the most horrid thing somebody could do, and turned it into, well, you know, you don't want babies to be killed before the second trimester, you Nazi. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm Hitler now.
At this point, it applies to everybody. Even Jewish people are Nazis.
Yeah.
It's called a Nazi on a regular basis.
Yeah. They had signs.
Everybody Jewish who's right of Karl Marx is now a Nazi, according to the Antifa.
People in Berkeley were calling Ben Shapiro a Nazi.
Right,
I was
exactly.
like, what the fuck? I was hysterical laughing that day, and then I stopped myself, and I was like, I can't laugh at this. This is actually so sad.
Yeah.
But, I mean, now, speaking of getting lumped in with people, Royce and myself went out to D.C. for the Juggalo thing, and then also the Mother of All Rallies. Now, you were banned from speaking there? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I was banned from speaking there. And the organizers are so fucking sackless that they won't even admit that they blacklisted me. Everybody knows it. Everybody involved with it, everybody around them, I know it, they know it, but they're going to say, well, he wasn't actually invited. Bullshit.
Neither was Black Lives Matter. Neither was Black Lives Matter, and they let them on the stage.
Right. They kept, their defense was, well, he wasn't invited. He's not entitled to speak. And everybody's like, well, that's not really the point, is it? Of course, he wasn't, you know, entitled to speak. No one has the right to speak at someone else's event. But you deliberately blacklisted Invictus, and then you gave the microphone to Black Lives Matter, to the enemy, to the hostile aggressors that have been physically beating our side of the fence for years.
Yeah, and calling for the murder of cops. I mean, that's they're calling for the murder of cops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just
right. So I've been blacklisted before for talking about civil war and violent revolution. Philosophical or not, like when you are actually advocating killing cops because they are Klan members or white supremacists versus, you know, violent revolution to restore the republic that our founding fathers gave us, like which one is really worse?
Well, I can assure you
naturally, Black Lives Matter, the Marxist message of killing cops is probably a little worse.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can tell you this much. We were at the Mother of All Rallies, and you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
You
probably would have reached...
them.
You probably would have...
I did get blacklisted.
Yeah, no, you would have reached a bigger audience if you just went on Facebook Live. I can assure you. Unless... The only thing you would have missed was a chance to meet comedian Terry McNeely, so you didn't miss much. And everybody... Now, who was the guy who actually put that together? Because all of these boomer... MAGA people that like hide behind, they all have these monikers like Patriot Biker or Taxidermist for Trump.
Well, his name's Tommy Gunn. His real name's Tommy.
No. Didn't he lose to Sylvester Stallone
in a parking lot?
In a parking lot.
Bare knuckle brawl.
Yeah, that was like what, Rocky 4 or 5?
Yeah, didn't I? Yeah, he was the boxer that died of AIDS.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
man.
he's alive and kicking and giving the mic to Black Lives Matter at this point, I guess.
Well, yeah, and we were there for that, and we were, look, we saw it as a. Obviously, it was, in some way, I do believe that it was a way to deflate the tension and be like, look, it's like, look, if somebody keeps screaming, give me the mic, give me the mic, because like I've done comedy for years. Best way to do that is just give the dude the mic, and then they're like, I didn't know anybody was going to give me the mic. And then they go away.
I mean, that's a different setting, though. I mean, if you're talking about a comedy setting, you're talking about an educational setting, okay. But then you have to ask yourself, like, what is the point of a right-wing rally?
Yeah.
Is it to just get together and jerk each other off and have a good time and eat hot dogs? Or is it to demonstrate power to the enemy and show we are a political force to be reckoned with? Because it seems like it's just all fuckboys getting together to, eat cotton candy at this point. And like I've canceled all appearances through the end of the year because people have just lost their minds.
And actually, speaking of canceling appearances, that's a perfect segue. Because I don't look. There are plenty of people on the alt-right that Royce and myself have criticized heavily on this show. We have expressed an extreme distrust in our opinions of Richard Spencer. We're a bit wary of Jason Kessler, Heimbach and Parrott. I find them to be a bit off-putting despite their charming demeanors. But one of the things I do like about you, it's kind of separated you from the pack, was you did back out of the March Against Communism, which we were a little vocal about. It's very poor planning, and did you feel that maybe the mistakes made during the planning would have created like a dangerous situation out there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's besides the whole blacklisting thing and everything that's gone to hell after Charlottesville. Yeah, I mean, the way that the Charlotte rally was going to be organized, I mean, a lot of people thought it was a setup, and it's not, because I've met the kids. I know the guys that are setting this thing up. I know the organizers of the rally. I've met them in person, not just on the internet. And it's not like an FBI setup. But at the same time, if I were to have continued in working with that rally and going to speak at it, I'd have had to insist on taking it over as far as security apparatus is concerned, because, holding it in Charlotte, for one.
Oh, yeah. I've lived there.
Especially in public, on public ground. Like, there was just, and saying publicly that everybody should bring rifles, and guns.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a poorly executed thing. But I don't hold any ill will toward them. It's just, you learn as you go.
Yeah, so, no, and that was my only point, was that I kind of gained some cool, Invictus gained some cool points with us, because when we heard he pulled out, and the way he respectfully did it, and he did point out basically, anybody to me that is using a movement or any kind of cult of personality recklessly and is endangering the people that support them, I have zero respect for. So you kind of like, I was kind of like, all right, this dude's all right. At least he's, he's a human.
Yeah, that's actually been one of my biggest points of difference with a lot of the leaders. Not to actually, Spencer is probably one of the best at keeping his own people, in mind when he's thinking of security things. But a lot of leaders of the right wing, they just, they're going to do live streams where they're telling everybody what hotel they're at, and it's like, you don't even think about the fact that you were endangering everyone around you. At this point, like, I live like an urban guerrilla commander. Like, nobody knows where I am. My travel itinerary is randomized. I'm a little extreme with keeping things secure, but, you at least have to give it some kind of thought to the people who are supporting you, that they're on the line too. They're supporting you, so the least you can do is at least consider their safety as well. Don't put people in reckless danger.
Are you? Do you put tape over your webcam?
Yeah, it's definitely taped up.
Yeah.
I'm talking on my phone right now,
it.
but the computer in front of me is definitely taped up.
Yeah, I've been seeing that. I've been reading people say it doesn't matter. Even if you think you're a nobody, they're saying do that because it's super easy for them to get into your computer and take pictures of you and stuff like that. Yeah, no, that's go ahead.
And the thing is, like, since I was a kid, like, my dad was a lawyer, criminal defense lawyer as well, and that was long before cell phones. And even back then, like, when they first came out with consumer cell phones for the public, the police could tap your phone and hear everything going on in the room, even in the 90s. So if you think of the technology we have now, police get a wiretap on your phone, they're filming everything around you at all times, and your phone doesn't need to be on. Like, that's how scary it is. So, yeah, you need to tape up your damn camera on your laptop at the very least.
I'm assuming you don't have an Amazon Echo then.
No, I do not.
Yeah, I would doubt that. Yeah,
Fuck that. We do.
Yeah,
It's
I
awesome.
don't have anything like Alexa, Amazon Echo. Like I use safe browsers. Like I'm really obsessive about security, especially technologically.
Well, also, I mean, you got to be a little more secure too, because I have to say this, and I will declare this. One fact I know 100% about Augustus Invictus is that you have more female stalkers and weird orbiters on the right than anybody I've ever seen on the right. Like, does the missus ever get on your ass about that? Because I've dated Latinas, and they're rarely calm or rational people.
Yeah, the missus has made a mention of it once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah. Who is Princess Sarah?
Right.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows about that chick. She loves her some AI.
Well, as long as Laura Loomer's not bothering you to go to the Deplorable, you'll be all right.
Oh, it's coming.
I don't think Laura Loomer's ever gonna talk to me unless forced to.
I don't think. Same with us. We don't think
that's a problem.
But you know what? She's got this new tactic now. You literally, all you said was her name, and she's probably going to sue you now. That's her new thing. Just threaten everybody with lawsuits. You said my name on Twitter. I'm hiring attorneys. I'm like, you're going to go broke, lady.
Like, there were those warring events in D.C. back in June, and she chose to withdraw from our event because Richard Spencer came on board, and they had their rival event at the White House. And I had talked with her the day before, and she was trying to tell me, like, we're in the National Press Club talking one-on-one, and she's telling me, if you go to this event and speak at this event with Spencer, you are basically implicitly endorsing anti-Semitism. So you need to come out with a statement that denounces anti-Semitism. And I'm like, how is that any different than the Antifa? You know, telling me what I have to say, what I can and cannot say, and what I have to denounce or not denounce. We never talked ever again after that. So
I think you might be better off.
Yeah.
I don't think she'll be stalking me anytime soon after that interaction.
Yeah, Laura Loomer is kind of like the Bloody Mary thing. If you say her name 3 times in a mirror, she appears, but with worse makeup.
So. Well, I think I've said it twice now, so let's change subjects.
Fair enough.
Oh, that's fair. Now, I actually saw a really interesting. Video. Now, you had an issue with your YouTube. It got taken down, and I guess you had to make a new one.
Yeah.
And
the Antifa hacked our YouTube account, and there were only 2 people that had the password: me and the internet person for the Revolutionary Conservative. So the only possible way that this could have happened is if someone at Google gave the password to Antifa. So we tried calling Google, tried talking to the help desk. Google's just not interested in talking about it at all. But right now, I'm just re-uploading everything. So there's no getting it back now.
Yeah, I know. He restarted his channel.
Wait, even if you're hacked, they won't put your stuff back up?
No, I can't even contact them. They won't even write us back. We sent a press inquiry, sent a customer support thing. We called different customer support phone numbers for different Google subscriber services or whatever. I asked them, is there a security department or something that cares about the fact that you got hacked? And the guy's like, no, sir. We did not get hacked. You got hacked. I said, yeah, I got hacked on your website. Like, Google got hacked. Who do I talk to that cares about this? And he's like, well, there's security somewhere in the back, but they're not going to talk to you. So they just don't care.
You know what the problem is, dude? Is that you don't run a YouTube channel that teaches toddlers that it's okay to have gay sex. If you did that, bro, they would have had you on a priority line. Like, hang on, we'll get this fixed right away.
I really should have gone that route. I'd have a lot of subscribers and a lot more money if I were to do that.
Have you tried being an Armenian genocide denier? That works for the Young Turks.
Yeah,
they get in there quick.
They've never been hacked.
I'll check that out. We'll try that as a marketing strategy.
You never know.
Yeah.
Now, so you're going to be you're running as a Republican this time around. Now, if you think the Libertarians spurred out last time, I don't know if they're going to be very friendly to you in the GOP. You ready for this?
The Libertarian thing is kind of a dry run. All the things we went through, all the slander and the party machinations. That was kind of a warm up. So now we're about to go into the real game.
Yeah, because this is the Republicans. They're going to say you fuck babies and strangle puppies and You know, like they're gonna go. They are really awful. Like the two main parties are really awful, and they have a lot of money. So it's you know, I wish you luck, man. I trust me. I want to shake things up, but they are Florida Republicans are, you know, that's like California, you know, Democrats. Like they're fucking.
Yeah, just don't buy an F-150 Super Duty and put a Confederate flag on it and try to run people over like that ad, and I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, I actually had an F-150, and I really regret giving that up now.
Yeah,
you
see?
Put that Confederate flag on there.
See, the problem is, though, is the alt-right, they'll start some super PAC that this poor guy doesn't even know about, and they'll run the same ad, but in a good way. Like, they'll be like, no, this is a good thing. We want this. You'll be like, Jesus Christ.
Hey, man,
they'll only run that ad in Gainesville and Tampa and Ocala. Do not run that in Miami.
Yeah, that's the thing about Florida. It's like 6 different countries in one. So, you know, you can probably run that ad in North Florida, but definitely not South Florida.
I love this state, though. It's the weirdest. It's one of the last, like, places that feels like America. Like, it's just nuts, you know? And it really is. Just feels like a mini country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, now after what happened in Puerto Rico, the politics are going to change here big time because a lot of people are moving from Puerto Rico to Central Florida. And that's going to change the state a lot.
That's new. That's everywhere I grew up in Orlando was Puerto Rican.
Oh, yeah, so, no, it's still that way, but it's going to be
family
worse.
I married into was Puerto Rican. I don't think that'll change Orlando much.
That's a very good point.
South Orlando a little bit, but we're basically already there.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good. I'm Cuban, so when I was where I lived in South Florida, all the billboards are in Spanish. Everything's in like if you speak English there, you're fucked. Kind of situation. But yeah, but you're right. If you keep driving up a little bit north, you go to Ocala, it's basically certain areas look like South Alabama. So it really is a diverse state. And like you said, Mike, it's a microcosm.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes. Major metropolitan areas with the strip clubs and the drugs, and then you drive an hour north and it's all horse farms. You know, it's a weird place. And then there's the swamps, the beaches. I mean, we got everything in Florida. And, you know, growing up there, it's like you don't appreciate it. It seems like hell, but then you venture out and you realize when you come back, you know, how beautiful Florida really is.
That's a good point because we went to D.C. we were like, man, all the new buildings are these postmodern hell. All the buildings look alike now.
Yeah.
Especially like cities like that where it looks like the buildings are basically 3D printed. And you're like, man, there's no individuality anymore.
It's a miserable gray glass corporate, just bland, miserable place to live now.
Yeah. Really, really weird. But here I did have a question for you because they're going to kick my ass if I don't ask it. You've openly said that you're a fan of some of Ted Kaczynski's philosophies. What did you mean by that?
I can't think of any that I'm not a fan of. I mean,
well, can we say just for one, maybe not the mailing bombs with nails in it to people?
Well, I wouldn't count that as philosophy. I'd count that as a method.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair. That's fair.
I don't agree with that. See, if I have the standing to question someone like Kaczynski, because he's undeniably a genius of a higher order than me, I wouldn't have done that. Like, it seems like his main failing in that particular campaign was his targeting. Because no one, like, it makes sense logically if you're fighting technologization and you know, industrialization and the rest, that you're going to target computer scientists, professors, airline executives. That makes sense to a mathematician.
Right.
But to the American public, it makes no sense at all. These are just innocent people doing their jobs. So politically, they were bad targets. But philosophically, he was 100% right about everything. Like, if you read Industrial Society and Its Future and you read Anti-Tech Revolution, I challenge anyone to pick a phrase in there that's incorrect. Like, it's all correct.
And that's why I did want to clarify. I know he's not like, you know, I've just heard him say before, too, that he's a fan of some of his philosophies, not so much as you said the methods. But this is yet another thing that, like, the press tends to jump on, and they'll go, "Oh, he likes the Unabomber." They'll make sure they say Unabomber.
Yeah, they'll say his name. They'll call him the Unabomber. But
they'll find a picture of you wearing a similar hoodie, with a hoodie and a pair of aviators, and they'll be like, "See,
yeah, exactly. Like, see,
there it is."
Unabomber, right?
You look more like Mr. Robot a little bit.
Yeah,
I think.
actually, good point.
Yeah, but he talks in both books, in ISAIF and in Anti-Tech Revolution, about, this is about revolutionary action. He wrote as Freedom Club to kind of give the impression that he has this large group when he did the bombing campaign, but I think his focus is, revolutionary change by whatever means necessary. And if you're working alone, maybe that makes sense. But if you're actually looking to destroy the technological system, or, just the system generally, that's probably not the best way to go about it. You need organization, and that's what we're trying to do on our end of things.
Yeah, actual consensus instead of just mail bombs and mailboxes. That makes sense.
Well, I don't know about like critical mass consensus, like getting the masses to back you. But I do believe in the vanguard, whether it's Lenin or it's the American founding fathers here. They were only 3% of the country. They gave a damn about independence. So that 3% led the way forward. So I'm not really looking to recruit the masses. I'm just looking to recruit that hardcore that wants to revolt.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, another question for you. Did you really sacrifice a goat?
Yeah, that happened.
Now, when Mike told me that, I'll explain. Mike's like, you sacrificed a goat, but then I go, I'm Cuban, and in South Florida, there's a lot of people called Santeria, which is they.
Well, it's not even just South Florida. I mean, Santeria is up in Orlando too.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm saying that's where I'm from. I'm just going by where I live, and they wear all white, and I have family members that have sacrificed chickens and things, so that's not, to me, wasn't like, I think Hispanic people with that go, yeah, I know, I have a cousin who does that, so it's not. But why did you do it?
It wasn't for Santeria, though I've done a few things in Santeria.
Yeah.
But this was because I had taken a pilgrimage where I walked out from Orlando to the Mojave Desert in California, and then to the Grand Canyon, and then the Kaibab Forest. So I went on this whole expedition where I was just going in the wilderness to pray and fast. And being, a city boy, I didn't expect to survive. Like, I had never even slept outside, I hadn't even gone camping before I took that pilgrimage. So I expected to die, and when I didn't, I came back and sacrificed the goat in Thanksgiving. Like, hey, thanks for getting me out of this mess.
Did you eat the goat? Did you eat the goat?
Can't really get into details, especially since last time I got into a detail.
Oh,
worldwide.
It became a bit of a meme.
Oh no, okay, that's cool. I'm only asking because I have Jamaican friends that have literally killed goats and make jerk goat. Like, that's not a weird thing, especially
right. If the thing is, everybody is talking about, oh my God, he killed an animal.
So
oh my God, did you hear he drank the blood of that animal? It's like, how many people have gone hunting? You always drink the blood of the animal.
Yeah,
how many people are saying this, having this conversation, while they're eating their fucking bacon cheeseburgers?
Which is no, I know exactly. I had a neighbor who was Jamaican, and they would kill goats and eat curry goat. It's Caribbean island. That's what it's a normal thing. Cuba, that's not a weird.
But it's also
goats are something you eat. It's like cows or chickens.
Yeah.
They're meat. So it's just an insane hypocrisy. It's just a Christian thing.
Right.
And the thing is, it came from the libertarians, like the Christians in the Libertarian Party, who have a problem with this. And you think, if there's any political party that's going to defend religious freedom, wouldn't it be the libertarians? So the entire episode was just absolutely insane.
But and that's what I don't get. You did it as essentially what was part of somewhat a personal religious ceremonial thing to yourself. Nobody gets hurt. But meanwhile, again, the Libertarian Party is the party that pushed for John McAfee, who was doing coke and shooting guns off his boat for fucking a couple of years in Belize, and then some girl died and he had to come home. And they're like, let's make this guy president.
He murdered somebody in Belize, by the way. I mean, that's a pretty well-known fact. Somehow that's fine, but when you do it and it's religious and it's not a human being, I don't know. That's the thing. People are just completely illogical. They don't actually think these things out. They just react on emotion. So you hear about, oh my God, he sacrificed a goat to Satan. Did you hear about that? Andy's a Nazi.
No,
You know,
and
it's like dealing with fucking children on a playground.
But it does sound good in a hit piece ad. I mean, if you're good, you know what I mean? Like, if you're printing up materials and you're working for the other campaign, you're like, I don't know, sacrifice the goat to Satan because he's a Nazi. It fits on the postcard. Can you put horns on him? Get the Photoshop guy in there. Get one of the interns. But no,
yeah, there's a lot of those details. Like, you could make hit pieces on me for the rest of the time. But the thing is, like, at this point, people have realized the things that I've actually done that are pretty salacious. Nobody really cares. Nobody cares. So they've just started making things up at this point.
Yeah,
things have been just made out of fucking thin air for a couple of years now. Just so nobody knows what to believe anymore.
well, yeah, but I mean, you got fucking, Podesta Spear cooking. You got all the Hollywood fucking kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they're like, whoa, wait a minute. What did this guy do with a goat? And
That's
you're
a
like,
really good point.
I don't know. From what I know, he didn't fuck the goat. So I'm pretty sure we're all on the same page here that he's probably still in the high
Hey,
percentile.
after what he did, they didn't have to cancel House of Cards. So, that's not.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe maybe the leftists find out about Invictus and they're like, wait, he didn't fuck a kid and then sacrifice the kid? Jesus, he's an amateur. He's never going to make it in this business.
What a weirdo! He sacrificed the goat. Who wants to go spirit cooking?
Now,
Like I said, I just haven't done anything scandalous enough.
That's a good point.
From the media.
Yeah, and I mean, Royce has to bring it up because it is things that are out there. But I mean, we're not trying to like make it a hit. But like, I watched the SPLC interview that you did.
I hate the SPLC.
And I mean, look, fucking props to Augustus Invictus because they were up his ass and he just called him and he's like, sure, I'm in town. I'll meet with you, whatevs. And he fucking, had the foresight to record the whole thing as anybody should if you're going to meet with the SPLC.
And that's exactly why, because if you've read any of the hit pieces that have come out from the SPLC since we did that interview, that's one of the things where I say they just make shit up out of thin air. The SPLC has made a practice of going to every prostitute I've ever known and just reporting anything that they have to say. I even showed this woman when the camera was off. Like, if you've seen the interview, you've seen her asking me about this, that, or the other. And I said, look, after this interview is over, we're going to turn this camera off. I'm going to show you the evidence, and we'll discuss that then. And then I did. After the interview, I showed her everything. She still printed it. So they have absolutely no journalistic integrity. She keeps calling herself a reporter. Clearly not true. That's the joke of the year. But yeah, if you see that article, you see that interview, and then you see the articles that came out after, total farce. And everybody knows it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's me and Royce have joked on almost every episode of the show that one of our goals is to get on the SPLC list.
We're trying really hard.
Because they are essentially clown shoes. Now, if somebody told me, hey, you're on the ACLU's list, I'd be like, okay, maybe I need to dial back my rhetoric a little bit. But like, the SPLC is a joke. At least the ACLU has some consistency. They step in a lot of different freedom of speech affairs. Like the SPLC is
in Charlottesville. I mean, nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, and as opposed to the SPLC, where they're like, here's a list of people who aren't Bernie Sanders. Let's call them all Nazis.
It's a communist blacklist. And they don't even make any bones about that fact. It is a blacklist of people these communists are calling Nazis. The fact that anybody, left or right, doesn't see through that is astounding.
Yeah, and it's funny because it still gets brought up to me by people. They're like, oh, yeah, like, he's on the SPLC website. I'm like, what does that even mean?
Exactly.
I'm like, I want on that website. Well, we can market this show after that?
I read this article about him on the Antifa websites. Did you know about this, that, and the other? It's like, yeah, it's on an Antifa website. Does anybody seriously read this shit? I mean, just like you read an SPLC blacklist article and you think, does anybody actually think this is real? It's surreal how many people actually do. And that's why, like I said, I'm not trying to build a mass consensus because the masses are mentally retarded. I mean, anybody who could believe something like an Antifa website or the SPLC, they have to be mentally deranged. So just fuck them.
Yeah, and that's like when you hear, did you hear Augustus Invictus? He's a domestic terrorist. He's actually, I saw it on an Antifa website, and you're like, yeah, next to an article normalizing pedophilia. Maybe consider your source.
And that same thing happened like when I went to Canada last year as part of my campaign. Like I did a whole Northwest tour, went into Canada, and the Canadian Border Patrol kicked me out of the country, back to the U.S. And their justification, because someone at Canadian Border Patrol actually told me what happened, because he was friendly to our cause. He read the report and emailed me on an encrypted server. But he said, like, the reason they kicked me out was because the Antifa website said I was a Nazi. And they drilled me for 3 hours. They interrogated me at the border because of the Antifa. People are so stupid that it boggles the mind.
So because a website that has in no way done any real reporting or is in any way of an organization that's tied into the Department of Justice or any sort of, they stopped you from coming in?
And not only that, but this is the website of the same people that the Canadian government knew was trying to assassinate me. They had made public threats of assassination and of starting a riot if I were allowed to speak in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. Canadian Border Services still went to their website and based their decision off of that. Those are the times we're living in right now.
Yeah, but to be fair, do you know how many sit-ups Prime Minister Sexy in Canada could do?
He's a good-looking guy.
Not as many as me. I'll crunch that guy any day of the week.
I will say, out of everybody on the right, Augustus is one of the guys people always talk about how they're going to punch in the face, and then they always go find a Spencer or a Kessler, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to try him instead."
Yeah, it's funny. Like everybody's got something to say on the internet, but ever since that first assassination attempt, after we changed security procedures, and no one has anything to say in person. So I'm still waiting for that day.
All right, so I have a question. All right, it's 2019, and Augustus Invictus has pulled the biggest upset since Shane Helms beat The Rock. Senator Augustus Invictus pulls the biggest upset since Shane Helms beat The Rock on SmackDown. What are your first 5 orders of business? Like, what are we getting to right away?
I'd move to end the Fed, which I'd compromise with an audit the Fed.
You got me there. I'm with you there.
Move to abolish the tax code, abolish the IRS. I just go in with a wrecking ball. As far as top 5, probably implement a non-interventionist foreign policy. Whatever war is going on at the time, probably try to end that business. Moratorium on immigration. I'd say those are probably the top orders of business.
Wow. So, yeah, you obviously, you heard it here first, folks, absolute white nationalist, terrorist Nazi who wants basically the same thing fucking Ron Paul did.
That's the same thing Ron Paul, I was going to say, that's the same thing Ron Paul wants.
Will you think you'll hang out with Rand if you're up there? I don't know anybody else you could really have a conversation with.
I'd hang out with Rand in a heartbeat. I don't think he'd talk to me, though, in his career. But yeah, I like Rand Paul a lot.
I don't think
you know who doesn't? His neighbor.
Oh yeah, so I heard 6 broken ribs.
6
lawn clippings. You know, the Washington Examiner came out with a piece where they actually talked to the neighbors, and the neighbors are saying, not politically motivated, total horseshit.
It has to be.
About lawn mowing, absolutely not. His yard is pristine. So obvious, and they hadn't talked in years. So this whole media cover-up is just one of those things where you just throw up your hands. You say, what do you even do about that?
Yeah, I read an article from somewhere that said, I was one of those fucking leftists that said Rand Paul was a terrible neighbor, like kind of saying that he deserved to get GQ. That's what it was. Gentleman's Quarterly. Decided this, by the way, the same Gentleman Quarterly that had to redact and apologize because they said, why did Trump call for the death penalty on the Muslim terrorist but not the Vegas shooter? Because the Vegas shooter's dead, assholes.
I saw that too. They were like, we regret having published that. I'm like, I'm sure you did.
Of course you did.
I just wish, fucking ESPN would go back to giving me box scores. GQ can go back to telling me what slacks are going to be hot this summer.
Yeah.
And just shut the fuck up.
Oh, that was a joke.
Yeah. I'm going to help you out in your campaign. Have you tried the Olbermann strategy? Wrap yourself in an American flag and look like you're pouting on the floor.
What a baby.
Yeah. I'm sure that book sold more than any book I've ever written. So
which is sad.
Got to figure it out.
Which is sad.
Yeah, but they're all sitting on tables in doctors' offices and, in country clubs where people want to look smart. Nobody's reading it.
There's a stack of 100,000 of them right outside of the screen in his home studio.
Yeah.
Just fucking top of the top.
I'm saying, I'll put it this way. Look, I'm sure Keith Olbermann's books probably shipped more than yours have, but I don't know if they're flying off the shelves.
Being read, yeah, I don't know if anybody's actually reading them. But if he does have those stacks in his home, I mean, that'd be a good place for us to start our Nazi book burnings.
Yeah, that's very, very
Look
good
at
point.
the silver lining here, guys.
I mean, it's 2017. We're just have to burn tablets. I don't even know how that works now. So look,
That's fine. Kaczynski would be proud.
Yeah, the irony that his manifesto is getting passed around on a website. God damn it! This isn't what I wanted. But now look, you got the campaign. Obviously, you're working on that. You're all constantly on the road, and you have the fireside chats, Daily Planet, Revolutionary Conservative. You don't drink. Like, do you ever fucking relax? Like, what do you just do to decompress and shut off for a little bit?
I think I relaxed sometime in 2015.
Jesus.
No, I don't have vacations. I like gym time is relaxing to me. I'll have family movie time. That's
nice.
With my son, like, you know, family time is basically my off time. I don't really do anything but work and be with the family. Yeah, I don't drink. I basically live as a monk. So, you know, I think it's the better for it.
All right. Well, can I just give one piece of advice? You know, if and when the time comes and you win, just a champagne toast. You know what I mean? You don't have to go nuts with it. You know, just a nice little sip. You know,
I'll get you on that. Yeah, I could see that as being celebratory. Yeah,
And
we'll do
that's
that.
it. And after that, that's it. But
what if he just becomes like Peter Russo in House of Cards? From one sip of champagne, he just becomes a mess. You're like, oh man, I did this.
I was
to
just
him.
kidding.
Just telling him to loosen up a little bit.
I'm dead in the car and I'm writing you guys a thank you note to be found in the glove box.
Oh, this is awesome. This has been like the most fun
That was
interview
great,
ever.
man.
I really had a blast. What else do you want to promote, man?
Yeah, anything
Tell
you
them
wanna
all. They've got a lot of people listening right now.
The thing I'm trying to promote the hardest right now, we've got the Daily Planet at the Revolutionary Conservative, and that's like the daily broadcast. I've got Guerrilla Radio, which is like our weekly podcast where we talk about revolution and revolutionary tracts and things like that. But the Daily Planet I do every day, and I go through the fake news to kind of teach people what propaganda is and what is real and what is not. And so apparently nobody knows that show exists. So we live stream it every day at 8 o'clock on Facebook, 8 a.m. And I also put it on YouTube. So, you know, if you hadn't heard of it, I do put a lot of time into that. So that's what I'm kind of promoting right now.
Awesome. And can we get one of them Invictus for Senate signs?
Yeah, we'll put it in my yard. I will put it in my yard.
I want one in the studio too. So
And in the
two
studio.
signs. I need one on the behind me on the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could probably arrange that.
Awesome.
Maybe drive out to Davenport to give them to you.
There you go. That'd
Boom.
be awesome.
Look at that, hanging out with the man himself.
Hey, man, thank you so much for being on. We appreciate your time. We know you're very, very busy.
Sure, man. Thank you guys for having me. I love the show.
Absolutely.
So
thanks, dude. We
keep
appreciate
it running. Keep it running. I saw the intermission ads too.
Yeah.
Just gold.
Thanks,
Gold.
dude. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
That's awesome, man. Thank you
you
so
guys.
much.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Yes, folks, your future senator from the state of Florida, Augustus Soul Invictus. That is not. We're not going to top that really today.
No, I didn't. That's why I wanted to. You know, I think it's about time to do
We're
a
gonna-
little bit of shilling
We're
here.
going to shill, and we're going to go right off into the sunset.